Happy morning, students. Welcome to Blue Stars Higher Secondary School online classes. Last few classes, we have learned about Unit 7, Heat. So, in this class, we have learned about Unit 13, Chemical Bonding. So, these are the concept map for the Unit 13, Chemical Bonding. So, these are the topics are contained chemical bonding units. First one is approaches. So, Coastal-Lewis approach and Lewis-Dot approach. Already we know that atoms are building block of matter. So, a group of atoms, some of the group of atoms are called molecules. How the flowers are hold the garland. Same for the atoms is binds the or group of atoms is called molecules. So these atoms are binds force of attractions. So the force of attraction that is called bond. Okay. So this bond between loss of electrons and gain of electrons. So these are the proposed by the Coastal-Lewis approach and the Lewis-Dot structure. So there are types of bond. There are many types of bond. We have given the three types, that is ionic bond, covalent bond, coordinate covalent bond. Ionic bond means transfer of electrons. One atom in the valence shell to transfer the another atom, nearby atoms. That is ionic bond. Covalent bond. Two nearby atoms are sharing the electrons and the valence shell is completely filled. Next, coordinate covalent bond. One atom is give the electrons and another atom is gain. Okay, that is a donor acceptor. These are the ionic covalent and coordinate covalent bond. Next one is reactions. What are the chemical reactions? Oxidation, reduction, redox reactions. These are the chemical reactions. The agents. What are the agents? Oxidizing agents and reducing agents. So these are the topics is contain chemical bonding. One by one we will see. The first one is Coastal-Lewis approach to chemical bonds. So this rule is called as octet rule. Okay. So first one is what is meant by chemical bond. A chemical bond may be defined as the force of attraction between the atoms that binds them together as a unit called molecule. Already we know that the atom is formed because the force of attraction between the atoms. So this force of attractions, the atom is closely and bind the molecules. So these are the chemical bond. So the atoms begin the force of attraction. Okay. So this means that chemical bond. So we will study about in this unit Coastal-Lewis approach. What are the types Lewis-Dot structure? What are the types in the chemical bonds and different types of structure and different types of reactions. So atoms or various elements combine to form a chemical compounds. Okay. So these atoms or elements are combined in different ways and form a chemical bonds. So these atoms are why do atoms combine? How do atoms combine? Why do certain atoms combine while others do not? So these are the questions is raised in the atoms combined. Okay, so some of the researchers or scientists is taken and answer these questions. Okay, why do atoms combine? How do atoms combine? So first explanation is Causal-Lewis approach. These are the scientists successful explanation for these questions based upon the concept of electronic configuration. Okay, already we know that what is the electronic configuration. Already we learned about unit 11 atomic structure. Okay, how to draw a atomic structure for the one atoms. So the density of atoms to have 8 electrons in the valence shell is known as the acted rule or the rule of 8. So valence electrons, that is, for example, we have taken into the helium. Okay, helium. Helium valence electron, how much? 2. Carbon valence electrons, 4. Nitrogen valence electrons, 3. Beryllium valence electrons, 2. So, atoms of the 8 electrons in the valence shell is known as the active group. So, any one of the atoms we have gain the shell, valence shell, that is last shell, K shell, any other shell, K, L, M, N, any other shell have a 8 electrons that have a active group or the rule of 8. So, all the noble gases have a 8 electrons in their valence shell, okay, except helium. So, these have a stable balanced electronic configuration. So, that atoms tendency to gain or to lose electrons and hence their valence is 0, okay, because the atom is already stable because it have a completely filled. So, these are the noble gases of electronic configuration. The first one is helium. Helium, the atomic number 2, the valence, the shell electronic configuration 2. Neon, atomic number 10, 2, 8 because the K shell contains 2 and L shell contains 8 electrons. Argon, 18, 2, 8, 8. Krypton, 36, 2, 8, 18, 8. Xenon, 54, 2, 8, 18, 18, 8. Next, radon, 86, 2, 8, 18, 32, 18, 8. Okay, so you know that all the atoms have a valence electrons, that is last 8 electrons. So 1916, the Causal and Lewis proposed a theory to explain the chemical combination between the atoms and atoms. Okay, so this theory is known as electronic theory of valence or acted role. So, based on the electronic configuration of the noble gases, Causal and Lewis proposed the law. This law is known as electronic theory of valence or acted role. Already we know that the atoms are combined to form a molecules because it have a incomplete valence shell and then to attain stable electronic configuration. Okay, எந்த ஆட்டமும் வந்து அன்ஸ்டேபிளா இருக்கோ அதுல என்ன இருக்கு, அது ஒரு ஆட்டம் கூட கம்பைன் ஆகி ஸ்டேபிளா சேஞ்ச் ஆகுது. ஓகேவா? For example, we have taken into the sodium ion. So the sodium atomic number is 11. So the K shell contains 2 and L shell contains 8 and M shell contains 1. So the one electron is lost, the another atom is gain this electron and that electron is stable. So already the sodium is loss of electrons, it is attain a stable. In the process, that time the sodium atom is unstable because the M shell is contains only one electron. It is completely filled. It have a remaining 7 electrons. But it gain the electron 7. But இதுக்கு என்னது ஸ்டேபிள் ஆகிறதுக்கு 1 எலக்ட்ரானை லாஸ் பண்ணா இந்த ஆட்டம் என்ன ஆயிடும், இந்த சோடியம் அயான் ஸ்டேபிள் ஆயிடும். அதனால என்ன பண்ணுதுன்னா லாஸ் பண்ணுது. ஓகேவா? ஸோ லாஸ் பண்ண உடனே என்ன ஆயிடுது, இது ஸ்டேபிள் எலக்ட்ரானிக் கான்ஃபிகரேஷனா சேஞ்ச் ஆயிடுது. ஓகேவா? சேம் ஃபார் தி chloride. Chloride, the atomic number is 17. So the K shell contains 2. Next, L shell contains 8. M shell contains 7. So it have a 1 electrons completely filled. So the chlorine gain the electrons. 1 electron is gain the nearest atom. It have completely filled and attain a stable. So sodium ion loss of electrons and chloride ion gain of electrons. This is the electronic configuration of sodium and chloride. So the unstable electronic configuration of the noble gases. Boron, valence electrons 3. Nitrogen, valence electrons 5. Oxygen, valence electrons 6. Sodium, valence electrons 1. Okay, these are the unstable electronic configuration of the element. This is the Coastal-Lewis approach to chemical bonds. என்னன்னா ஒரே ஆட்டம் இருக்குன்னா அது என்னது எலக்ட்ரானிக் கான்ஃபிகரேஷன் ஸ்டேபிள் ஆகுது, இல்லைன்னா அந்த ஆட்டம் வந்து ஸ்டேபிள் ஆகுறதுக்கு தி எலக்ட்ரான்ஸ் ஆர் கெயின் ஆர் லாஸ். ஓகேவா? அதை வச்சுதான் நம்ம என்னது ஆக்டேட் டூல் டெரைவ் பண்ணியிருக்காரு யாரு, Coastal-Lewis. ஓகேவா? இதுதான் வந்து என்னது Coastal-Lewis ஆக்டேட் டூல். என்னன்னா ஒரு ஆட்டம் ஸ்டேபிள் ஆகிறதுக்கு அனதர் ஆட்டம் கிட்ட இருந்து ஒரு எலக்ட்ரான் கெயின் பண்ணும், இல்லைன்னா இது லாஸ் பண்ணும். ஓகேவா? நெக்ஸ்ட் ஒன் இஸ் Lewis dot structure. Lewis dot structure. So namely you find out the what is named Lewis dot structure. So the atoms of the valence electrons. So the valence electrons is put on a dot. Okay. So first one is, for example, hydrogen. The valence electrons is 1. So it have a dot 1. So pair the electrons are given to a pair and the single electrons will be put on the single. Okay. Helium, valence electrons 2. So this is the paired electrons, so it have a nearby. Okay. Beryllium 2. Next to carbon 4. Because the Lewis dot structure, all the sides are equally distributed. So the dots are distributed in all the sides. Okay. Next to carbon, valence electron 4. The carbon is 4 atoms. Next nitrogen, valence electrons 5. So 2, 3, 4, 5. So all the side is covered. Next oxygen, valence electrons 6, 2, 2, 2. Okay. So mostly all the side is covered. So this is the Lewis dot structure, means that the valence electron is represented by a dot. This is the Lewis dot structure. So these are the two approaches of the chemical bonds, Lewis approach and Lewis dot structure. Next, types of chemical bond. So there are many types of chemical bond, that is ionic bond, covalent bond, coordinate bond, metallic bond, hydrogen bond, van der Waals interactions. So the ionic, covalent, coordinate and a metallic bond, these are the strong bond, and hydrogen bond and a van der Waals interaction, these are the weak bond. So some of the types are given in this 9th standard. Remaining you have studied about the higher studies. Okay, so the first one is ionic bond or electrovalent bond. Ionic bond or electrovalent bond. How to the chemical bond is formed? So the atom is transferred, that is gain or lost the electrons to form a bond. So the bond is formed by the electrostatic attraction. Okay, mainly the ionic bond is formed by the electrostatic attraction. So the electrons are loss or gain, some of the force are needed. So that force is electrostatic attraction. Already we know that the atom that loses electron will form a positive ion, that is cation. Okay, and gain the electrons, it will form a anion, that is negative ion. So the positive and the negative charged ions come closer to each other due to the electrostatic force of attraction and thus form an ionic bond. As the bond is between the ions is called ionic bond. So due to the force of attraction, that is electrostatic force of attraction, one bond is formed. That is, what is this? Between the positive and negative charge ions. This called as ionic bond. So that force is called as electrostatic bond. Okay. So since the valence concept has been explained in terms of electron, it is also called as electrovalent bond. Okay. என்னன்னா ஆல்ரெடி நமக்கு தெரியும் என்னன்னா ஒரு ஆட்டம் என்னது எலக்ட்ரான்ஸை லாஸ் பண்ணுச்சுன்னா அது பாசிட்டிவ் அயான் டு ஃபார்ம் ஏ கேட்டையான். ஓகேவா, அதுவே வந்து எலக்ட்ரான்ஸை கெயின் பண்ணுச்சுன்னா அது நெகட்டிவ் அயான், தட் இஸ் ஆனியான். ஓகேவா, இந்த between the positive and negative charge ions, okay, have a electrostatic force of attraction. ஏன்னா வந்து நம்ம ஒரு எலக்ட்ரான்ஸை லாஸ் பண்ணி கெயின் பண்ணா ஒரு ஃபோர்ஸ் தேவை. ஓகேவா, அதை நம்ம என்ன சொல்லலாம், எலக்ட்ரோஸ்டாட்டிக் ஃபோர்ஸ். ஓகேவா, எலக்ட்ரோஸ்டாட்டிக் ஃபோர்ஸ் மூலயமா இந்த ப்ராசஸ் நடந்துச்சுன்னா அந்த ப்ராசஸ்ல இருக்கிற பாண்டுக்கு பேர் தான் நம்ம அயானிக் பாண்ட் அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு சொல்றோம். ஓகேவா, ஸோ இந்த பாண்டை வந்து நம்ம என்னன்னு சொல்றோம், எலக்ட்ரோஸ்டாட்டிக் பாண்டுன்னு சொல்லலாம். அயனிக் பாண்டை என்ன சொல்லலாம், எலக்ட்ரோஸ்டாட்டிக் பாண்டுன்னு சொல்லலாம். ஏன்னா அந்த அட்ராக்டிவ் ஃபோர்ஸ் வந்து எலக்ட்ரோஸ்டாட்டிக்கா இருக்கிறதுனால அந்த பாண்டை வந்து நம்ம என்னன்னு சொல்றோம், எலக்ட்ரோஸ்டாட்டிக் பாண்டு. ஸோ இது வந்து என்னன்னா அயனிக் பாண்ட் வந்து எலக்ட்ரான்ஸை பேஸ் பண்ணி இருக்கிறதுனால, ஓகேவா, பேலன்ஸ் எலக்ட்ரான்ஸ் கான்செப்ட்ல இருக்கிறதுனால நம்ம இதை என்ன சொல்றோம், எலக்ட்ரோவேலன்ட் பாண்ட். Okay, wow. So there are different names of ionic bond. Ionic bond or electrovalent bond. This is also called as electrostatic bond because the the bond between the forces is electrostatic. So it is called as electrostatic bond. So how to the ionic bond is formed? For example, we have taken into the atom A and B. Okay. So the atom A has the excess in the valence electron and the B is lesser in the valence electron in the valence shell. That the octet row obtained. Okay. So in this process, the A atom is lost the electrons. So this attain the what is this positive ion. Okay. Wow. Next, the B atom is gain the electrons. So this attain the negative ion. So these oppositely charged ions are held together by electrostatic force of attraction, which is called ionic bond or electrovalent bond, because these are the two fast charged ions, positive and negative charged ions held together by a electrostatic force of attraction, that is ionic bond or electrovalent bond. So this ionic bond is formed between the metal and non-metal. Okay. So that the ionic bond is formed metal and non-metal to combining the metal and non-metal to form a ionic bond, and it is called as ionic compounds. The compounds containing a which compounds are containing a ionic bonds that are called ionic compounds. Okay. So in the modern periodic table, group 1 and group 2, that is alkali and alkaline earth metals form a ionic bonds when they react with non-metals. Okay. In the modern periodic table, group 1 and group 2, that is group 1 alkali metals and group 1 alkali earth metals to form a ionic bond, that is ionic compounds. It is react to the non-metals. So for example, how to form the ionic bonding in sodium chloride. Okay. So we have taken into the two atoms, so that is one is sodium and another one is chlorine. So the electronic configuration of sodium is 2, 8, 8, 1, and the chlorine electronic configuration of 2, 8, 7. Okay. So the excess in one atom, sorry, one electrons. Okay. So the sodium is lost the one electrons, the chlorine is gain the that one electrons. So both the atoms are stable electronic configuration. So the one atom is transferred to the chlorine. So two are the stable. So the sodium is lost the electron, so it is the positive ion, that is cation. So the chlorine means accept or gain the one electron, so this attaining the negative ion, that is anion. So both the atoms are completely filled in the valence shell, that is sodium cation 2, 8, because one electron is lost. Next, chloride anion. This is also a completely filled 2, 8, 8 is the electronic configuration. So these two atoms between the have a force because loss and gain the electrons. That force is called electrostatic force and the bond is ionic bond. Clearly understand? So one electron is lost and one electron is gained. Okay. So another example we have C. What is this? Magnesium chloride. So the magnesium atom, the electronic configuration is 2, 8, 2. The next one is chlorine. We have here 2 chlorine atoms. So the electronic configuration is 2, 8, 7. So the magnesium atom is lost the 2 electrons. So the 2 chlorine atom is gained that 2 electrons. So one chlorine is the outermost shell electrons are 7. So the one electron is added. It is stable configuration, and the another chlorine atom is gain the 1 electrons. This is attain a stable configuration, and also the magnesium atom is also attain the stable configuration because 2 electrons are lost. So which one is positive and which one is negative? Positive ion and negative ion. So magnesium is a positive ion because these are 2 electrons are lost. ஏன்னா இப்போ எலக்ட்ரான்ஸ் வந்து நெகட்டிவ் சார்ஜில் இருக்கும். ஓகேவா? நெகட்டிவ் சார்ஜில் இருக்கும்போது ரெண்டுத்தையும் வந்து அது என்ன பண்ணுது? லாஸ் பண்ணுது. அதுக்கிட்ட இருக்கிறது ஒரு 2 எலக்ட்ரான்ஸை லாஸ் பண்ணோனையும் 2 எலக்ட்ரான்ஸ் என்ன ஆயிடுது? அதில் டிக்ரீஸ் ஆயிடுது. டிக்ரீஸ் ஆனோடனே அது என்னவா மாறும்? ஆட்டோமேட்டிக்காக பாசிட்டிவாக மாறிடும். ஓகேவா? அதே வந்து அக்செப்ட் பண்ணுதுல அந்த ஐட்டம்ஸே நெகட்டிவ் அயன் சொல்றோம். ஏற்கனவே அதில் நெகட்டிவ் சார்ஜஸ் நிறைய இருக்கு. இதனால இன்னும் வேற 2 நெகட்டிவ் சார்ஜ் வந்து ஆட் ஆகுது. ஆட் ஆகக்குள்ள என்ன ஆகும்? அது இன்னும் நெகட்டிவ் அயனா சேஞ்ச் ஆகும். ஓகேவா? So in this process, the magnesium atom is the positive ion, that is cation, and the chlorine atom is a negative ion, that is anion. Okay. So between the 2 atoms, they have a electrostatic force. The bond is the ionic bond. Okay. These are the formation of ionic bond in magnesium chloride. So what are the characteristics of the ionic bonds? We will learn now. Okay. So already we know that the ionic bonds, that is the ionic compounds, have a strong electrostatic force. So the characteristic features as there. Okay. First one is physical state of the ionic compounds. So the ionic compounds are crystalline solids at room temperature. Because these compounds, that is ionic compounds, are formed in the strong electrostatic force between the, what is this, cation and anion. So these compounds are crystalline solids at room temperature. So it have a arranged in a well-defined geometrical pattern. Okay. So ionic compounds are the crystalline solids at room temperature. Next one is electrical conductivity. They do not conduct electricity in solid state. In molten state, their aqueous solution conduct electricity. So ionic compounds in the aqueous solutions, it conduct the electricity. But in a solid state, the ionic compounds do not conduct electricity. Okay. Because in a solid state, the ionic compounds are closely held together. The ions are tightly held together. So do not move freely. So it do not contain electricity. Okay. But in the aqueous solution, the ions are freely moved. So it contains electrical conductivity. இப்போ ஒரு இடத்துல இங்க ஒரு பிளாக் பண்ணி வைக்கிறாங்கன்னா அந்த இடத்துல உங்க ஒரு 50 பேர் நிக்கிறாங்கன்னா உங்களால என்ன பண்ண முடியாது, அந்த 50 பேரையும் தாண்டி நீங்க எங்க போய் சேரணுமோ அந்த பிளேஸை ரீச் பண்ண முடியாது. ஓகேவா? அதே மாதிரிதான் என்னது கரண்ட்டும். ஓகேவா? இப்ப நிறைய அயான்ஸ் இருந்ததுன்னா எப்படி அதால வந்து என்னது கரண்ட் வந்து பாஸ் ஆகி போக முடியாது, போக முடியாது. அந்த அயான்ஸ்லாம் என்ன பண்ணிடும், பிளாக் பண்ணி நிறுத்திடும். அதே வந்து அந்த அயான்ஸ் எல்லாமே வந்து எப்படி இருக்கு, வேற ரொம்ப க்ளோஸ்லி டைட்டா இருக்கு. ஓகேவா? ஸோ கரண்ட் வந்து பாஸ் ஆக முடியாது. அதே வந்து ஃப்ரீயா அங்க ஒரு அயான்ஸ் இங்க ஒரு அயான்ஸ் அந்த மாதிரி இருந்தா என்ன பண்ணலாம், 50 பேர்னா 50 பேரும் கூட்டமா ஒரே இடத்துல கை கோத்துனா நம்மளால போக முடியாது. அதுவே என்ன பண்ணலாம், அவங்க 50 பேரும் செப்பரேட்டா நின்னுனாங்கன்னா நம்ம ஒரு கேப் இருந்தா அதுக்குள்ள நுழைஞ்சு போயிடலாம். ஓகேவா? ஸோ அதே மாதிரிதான் இந்த அயன்ஸ் வந்து எனக்கு அக்வஸ் சொல்யூஷன்ல ஃப்ரீயா இருக்கும். தி அயன்ஸ் ஆர் மூவ்டு ஃப்ரீ. ஸோ தி கரண்ட் இஸ் ஃபாஸ்ட். ஓகேவா? நெக்ஸ்ட் மெல்டிங் பாயிண்ட். So the ionic compounds have high melting and boiling points because it is attracted to the strong electrostatic force between the cations and anions. So the ions are tightly held together because it has a what is this, a crystalline solids. So the ions are arranged in the tight. So the ions are separated. We have a high melting point and boiling point. Okay. So இப்போ ஒரு பொருள் லேசியா இருந்தா நம்ம அதை என்ன பண்ணிடலாம், ஈஸியா மெல்ட் பண்ணிடலாம். ஆல்ரெடி வாட்டர் இருக்கு. வாட்டர் என்னது, ஒரு ஈஸியான மாலிகூல். அதனால என்ன ஆயிடுது, சீக்கிரமா வந்து ஹீட் ஆயிடுது. அதே வந்து ஒரு கல்லை வச்சு உங்களால வந்து வாட்டர் ஹீட் மெல்ட் பண்ற மாதிரி அதையும் நம்மளால ஹீட் பண்ண முடியுமா, ஹீட் பண்ண முடியாது. ஏன்னா அது சாலிடு. அது என்னது, இது அதுல அயன்ஸ் எல்லாமே என்னது க்ளோஸ்லி இல்லைன்னா டைட்டா என்ன இருக்கும், அரேஞ்ச் இருக்கும். அதை நம்ம ஒரு கல்ல மெல்ட் பண்ணா என்ன பண்ணணும், நமக்கு ஹை தேவை, எனர்ஜியும் ஹை தேவை, மெல்டிங் பாயிண்ட்டும் ஹையா தேவை, பாயிலிங் பாயிண்ட்டும் ஹையா தேவை. ஓகேவா? அதே மாதிரி இந்த அயானிக் காம்பவுண்ட்ஸை மெல்ட் பண்றதுக்கு நமக்கு ஹை மெல்டிங் அண்ட் பாயிலிங் பாயிண்ட் ரெக்வயர்டு. ஓகேவா? நெக்ஸ்ட் solubility. ஓகேவா? So ionic compounds are soluble in polar solvents, insoluble in non-polar solvents. Okay, already we know that what is meant by polar solvent and non-polar solvent. Which one is water as act as a solvent, that is a polar solvent. Other than the water, any other liquid like benzene, carbon tetrachloride, these are the non-polar solvents. So the ionic compounds are, which one is soluble, polar solvents. So ionic compounds வந்து எதுல soluble ஆகும்னா polar solventல soluble ஆகும். அது benzene, carbon tetrachloride இதெல்லாம் என்ன ஆகுது, insoluble இருக்கும். ஓகேவா? கரையாது. only polar solvents like water. வாட்டர்ல என்ன பண்ணும், ionic compounds insoluble ஆயிடும். ஓகேவா? density, hardness and brittleness. So ionic compounds have high density and they are quite hard because of the strong electrostatic force between the ions, but they are highly brittle. Okay, so already we know that the ionic compounds are crystalline solid. So the density is very high, hardness is very high, and the brittleness is also high. Okay, reaction. So ionic compounds undergo ionic reaction which are practically rapid and instantaneous. So the ionic reaction is very fast and instantaneous. The reaction is called as ionic reactions. So these are the characteristics of the ionic compounds. Physical state, electrical conductivity, melting point, solubility, density, hardness and brittleness, and reactions. So these are the characteristics of the ionic compound. So in this class we have learned about what is this? The two approaches, that is Quasar-Lewis approach and Lewis dot structure, and the types of chemical bond. We have learned about one type, that is ionic bond. So next class we have discussed about types of bond, that is covalent bond and coordinate covalent bond. Okay, any doubt, ask me, clarify the doubt. I believe that all of you write your class of note and observation note and follow the classes. Okay, thank you, student.